Well, there's a lot of accessories that Bond utilizes through his journeys and his adventures, but it's hard to argue that the attaché case is something that's got cool factor and form and function all wrapped in one. Let's explore. Hello, David Zritsky for the Bond Experience. Welcome back. This is a vlog I've been waiting to do for a very long time because I love attaché cases, briefcases, whatever part of the world you're from. I think they have a cool factor. Now, this is the one that I use every day. I'm in the pharmaceutical industry. I'm a part of an agency, so I wanted to get something interesting and cool. I didn't want to get a doctor bag that was black or brown like the traditional one, so I had the company, one of the last companies in the United States that makes these things by hand, to make one for me in a green leather. So this is what I carry around day to day. But what's great about the attaché case is not only can it potentially hold gadgets, come on, I don't care what you do, if you're an artist, an attorney, a lawyer, advertising, pharmaceutical executive, you need an attaché case. You need something. And I'm not a huge fan of the backpacks. I've seen guys walking around the streets in nice suits with the backpacks on, the shoulders are flying forward. Not for me. I like an attaché case. It's fine. Plus, it gives you a little bit of workout at the same time. But look at Bond. I mean, Bond has had some really interesting attaché cases throughout the year. So we're actually going to go backwards. We're going to start with Quantum of Solace. Before we do that, by the way, I'll tell you the cool factor that these attachés have. If you can see down here, I'll come a little bit closer. You see the 007. This was to hold DVDs as a box set. So clearly, even the branding people, even the marketers of Bond, even Eon know that attaché cases connect with all of us because it's an everyday kind of invisible hobby type of thing. But let's explore Quantum of Solace. So in Quantum of Solace, you'll remember pretty easily that Bond meets Camille for the first time. There's that lovely little picture in there, but he's carrying this. So what am I holding right now? And I'm going to actually cheat and look at the details here. So if you see me look at my phone, all right. So this is a Zero Halliburton Special Edition Q4 PS 4-inch business case. There's another one used at the Perla de Las Dunas Hotel, but we're not talking about that. This is what I call affectionately the assassination case that Bond uses. So let me tell you about the features on this. Polished silver, retro style metal handle. We're going to show you that in a second. White leather interior. Wow, very cool. 2 expandable file pockets, heat tempered aluminum shell, has a strength of steel at only 1/4 the weight. It's very light. I'm holding with one hand. But the hinges can withstand pull of over 400 pounds, manufactured in the USA. All right, so those are the stats, but let's just take a look at this. First of all, I'll come in a little bit closer so you can see some of the details of the case itself. Absolutely beautiful. This white leather, it's kind of like an ivory. I think you can appreciate some of the details of that. But what's amazing about Zero Halliburton, and I'll give it to you from a profile standpoint, is the details of it. It looks extremely retro. I mean, look at the case itself. So here I am holding it. We've got obviously the handle right here. You can see the hinges from that point of view. And what I love about this is it's got this kind of 1960s. You don't know what era it's from. Did I get it in a vintage sale? What's going on there? But Zero Halliburton name almost makes this thing bulletproof as far as collectability, because let's face it, even if it wasn't associated with Bond, it's a badass case. You can see the profile is very thin. Like we said, it's 4 inches. Now, I have not used this out in the wild. Why? Because I don't want it to get it dinged up. It's one of my favorite scenes. the motorcycle scene in Quantum of Solace. But again, it's got that cool factor. By the way, Michael Wilson was sitting there, the producer. When Bond collects this, he collects this, and it's got a really connected moment. Doesn't have gadgets, doesn't have that connectivity of some of the older movies with the attaché cases, but it's got that Zero Halliburton cool factor. But this wasn't the only neat aluminum case used in the Craig era. So I know what you're saying. You've got to be saying by now, David. You said Craig era, but you're standing in front of Brosnan's world. What's going on here? Well, this is a bit of an aha moment, and this is all about the reality of collecting. So let me just take this gigantic display off with tons of props as things start to fall off. So what I'm holding right now, and things are dropping left and right. This is real, folks. This is the real world. We don't edit that much. This was my display case, and still is, for my Die Another Day props. I've got a lot of lifestyle stuff in here. You can kind of go in. What I loved about this is the Samsonite Xylem 800 series. It was pretty hard to get. I've had two of them. Now, you can see that there are some cobwebs here. I did a nice job of dusting. No, I did not. But I loved this because it was a really neat way to display this. I thought this was the diamond case. And I keep saying thought because you're going to see in a second the reality. Put different props in here, lifestyle pieces, etc. But let me just turn this around for a second. And here comes the aha moment. Please excuse the dust. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to pick this up, but a very eagle-eyed individual, thank you, Charlie, noticed the feet. Now, interestingly enough, the feet on here are different than the diamond one. I know what you're saying. Come on, David. Really? Even you? Who cares? Well, the feet are the same ones that Mr. White has in Casino Royale. So this is the Xylem 800 series case that Mr. White has at the end of the movie. You see Bond, they drop it, the guy with the one eye drops it, and you see Mr. White kind of looking over. Bond's trying to resuscitate Vesper to no end. And suddenly Mr. White walks away with the case. This is the correct case. So this is now going to be going over there to my Casino Royale collection. So I've got to empty all this out. I'm actually going to have fun with this. I've got to recreate my Die Another Day thing because I don't have the right case. I have the Casino Royale case, so this is now going in that collection. Love this case, have used it. It's nice and light. I am right now straining a little bit because it's filled with props. But if I wasn't, you can see that there's a lot of little pockets here to hold all the melted butter. No, to hold the props, to hold the knives and the sunglasses and the watches. It's a great case. Reinforced. Samsonite has got a really nice aluminum line. This has seen a little bit of wear and tear, but I'm okay with that because I would actually use this in the wild. I would use this if I wasn't getting on a plane or traveling because I don't want to knock it around any more than I have. All right, so that was recent times. Now we're going to have to get into a bit of a time machine and go all the way back. So now we're in the world of Sean Connery, and a better style icon have you ever found? I don't know. I defy you to. But wonderful part of You Only Live Twice is Bond carrying around this Samsonite. So this is a very traditional looking Samsonite. It's got a thin frame. This one is from the mid 1960s. I wanted it to be authentic. What's great about this briefcase is you can find this Samsonite briefcase all day long on eBay. It's not rare. Let me get a little bit close so you can see. It's got the Samsonite name right here on the handle. Let me take a look, let you take a look at what's on the inside. I love the simplicity of these things, okay? So it's a wonderful plastic case. You can see that the openings, it's got place for your papers, it's got place for your pens, it's got these little file folders here. I'm telling you folks, it is simplicity and it's light, and Samsonite was way ahead of its day in those days and even now, because what I love about this is not only does it look the part, not only does it look classic, it's super light. I mean, think about all the type of Toomies and things that you see today, but I don't know if they've improved on this. So I love the fact that, you know, if you want to get one of these for your everyday business life. Talk about an invisible bond. You can carry it around. It's got a very classic style. It's very light. As you can see, I'm holding it with one hand. Very basic. It's got the feet on there so you're not scraping life. And if you get this thing banged up, guess what? You can get it again and again and again on eBay for $20, $30. I mean, it's not going to make you cry a river, but it's classic. This will never, ever go out of style. My green bag, a little avant-garde, but I work in an agency, so I can do that. This, no one's going to question. I mean, it's very traditional, but you'll get approving nods from people because it is so traditional. You don't typically see these type of things anymore. You tend to see backpacks. Well, I think it's time to graduate. I think it's time to move on to the creme de la creme, the ultimate James Bond attaché case. And to do that the right way, we are going to have to travel to a very dark, dark place. Don't worry, it's safe. And that is New Jersey. Okay, as promised, we are here with Q himself, practically, Ed Maggiani. Ed, good to see you again.
Hey, nice seeing you, David.
And
Give me your hand.
absolutely. Ed and I go back way back, I don't know, years, decades?
Years, at least.
Would you say?
At least.
Yeah, and all of you know him as well, but he had to present this last attaché case, the From Russia with Love attaché case that everybody knows about, everybody covets. Ed, tell us the story how this thing even became to be.
Yeah, very interesting. Originally, I'm sure a lot of you guys know, Steve Dimzo from SD Studios had gotten a license to do licensed James Bond products.
That's right.
And he produced the three items, I think, the golden gun, the wrist start gun, and the underwater breathing device.
Yes, remember that.
One time we went, and we did a commercial, which you guys may or may not have seen, with Desmond Llewellyn, promoting all these goodies.
Yes.
So we had met Desmond, which was a feather in our hat for later on that relates back to this guy. So we went to England, and it was myself, Steve, and Gary Giblin, who wrote the James Bond location book in London. And we went to Eon Productions, met with Michael Wilson. And at the time, we wanted to get reference of other props that Steve could possibly make. And of course, the most iconic thing we could think of was the attaché case.
Nothing more so.
You've got the Aston Martin, your PPK, and I think the attaché case, which are the three things that define Bond, for me anyway, at the time. So we went, talked with Michael, gave him the proposal to do this attaché case, and he agreed to let Steve do it. So we said, well, we know that Desmond has it. Is it possible that we can arrange a meeting with him? So they said yes.
Wow.
so we, because again, we'd known Desmond now for the commercial thing that we did, we called him up, and he says, oh sure, come on down. I'll pick you up at the train station.
Oh my gosh.
Which he did.
Picked up at the train station by Q.
By Q.
So, just bask in that for a moment.
Yeah. So he picks us up. We go to his house, meet his wife, his son, daughter-in-law, and we asked him. We said, "So, do you have the attaché case here?" And he was like, "Oh, sure." So he leads us upstairs to a second-floor bedroom, and there, tucked in a closet underneath a bunch of stuff, is the original case.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So he pulls this thing out, and it is beat to hell. It was destroyed. I had to ask him because there was rip marks all over the leather. And when he opened it, the interior of the leather, the red leather, was peppered with all kinds of just scratches and rips and tears. And I was like, what happened to this thing? And he says, well, he goes, they gave me the case to take to different outings and, show off different things to promote the movies. And everything that's inside here, which was, again, original props, he had thrown in there.
So they were just loose.
They were just loose.
No foam, nothing.
Nothing. So this thing rattles around, and everything in there, which are mostly like, different pieces of metal, guns and, knives and things, they're rattling around and they're ripping everything up inside. Okay? The case, because of the exterior ripped leather, I was like, well, what happened here? And he said, well, one of the latches fell off. So when we would go to the airport, he goes, I would take duct tape.
Right.
And I would wrap it in duct tape. So when he got to wherever he was going, they would rip the duct tape off, which of course destroyed...
Time and time again.
Yes, which destroyed the exterior of the leather. So it was a mess. It was a mess. So anyway, but we're still like, oh my God, it's the original case.
Of course.
So we're looking at this thing, and you know, of course, I brought tons of film, and I'm photographing every aspect of this, interior, exterior. You know, we're lifting things up and out and everything. Now, he didn't have everything. The knives, the original knives that came out, they were long gone. So he had replacements made, or somebody made for him, so that he could take it and unsharpened.
Right.
So that he could use that. The sovereigns were gone. The talc was gone. The only thing that was really left were the ammo rods, which are in the bottom. And an interesting story about that I'll get to. What had happened was, after we're taking all these pictures and measurements and everything, you know, he says, well, what are you doing? Where are you? And we said, well, we're planning. I said, Steve's planning on making a replica, you know, an exact replica of this thing, so we want to get it as accurate as possible. And he goes, well, instead of taking all these pictures, he goes, why don't you just take it with you? You know, we were like,
do you grab it and run before he changes his mind?
We were like, take it with us? He goes, yeah, take it with you and do whatever you got to do, and then just send it back to me.
Right.
So we were floored at that.
Of course.
We were like, okay, fine, thank you. So at the end of the day, we're taking this home.
Oh my
and he's driving us back to the train station, and drops us off, and we get up to the hotel room, and now, of course, we're, you know, like looking at everything.
Sure,
oh my God, here it is, you know. And I notice one of the ammo rods is missing.
Oh.
Now, they were there when he showed it to us, and we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I said, this thing survived since 1960s.
Right.
And now we got it in our hands, and we lost one of these tubes. What are we going to do? Oh my God, we were panicking. And the phone rings. It's Desmond. And he says, he goes, guys, when I dropped you off, when I was getting out of the car, because I noticed that the rod, the ammo rod, was in the back seat.
Thank goodness.
So we had to go back the next day.
Yeah, of course.
To go get that. We had lunch with them and everything. It was really cool.
Oh my gosh.
But Steve, you know, again, measured everything, took everything into consideration. The case itself, he had manufactured. It's a wooden case. The original was made out of aluminum.
Right.
Before we had gone to see Desmond, we had kind of a luncheon with Burt Luxford, who's the special effects guy who made the case.
That's right.
And Sid Kane, the production designer, showed up, who also was involved with making this.
Gosh. Talk about royalty.
It was an awesome day. And we questioned him, you know, different things, like such as the sovereigns. We asked him about that, and he's like, he goes, we just use regular shillings. We spray painted them gold.
Movie magic.
Nothing special. We just spray painted. So that was really neat. And like I said, everything that we got from him and everything that Steve was able to measure out, he was able actually to have this thing made. Again, wood, but this thing weighs a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine that the one that was made for the movie, Luxford told us it was made out of aluminum. They had gotten a Swain Adney case,
right?
But all the things that Sid Kane wanted to incorporate into this thing, the Swain Adney case just wouldn't do it. So they had Burt make a case from scratch.
My gosh.
Okay, totally from scratch. And basically, Steve made this thing. He did 100 of these cases, and there was also 10 artist proofs.
Okay.
The difference is that the artist proof contained a small brass plate that Desmond had signed.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Some of them also had one knife as opposed to two. We never knew that in the movie, because in the film we only see the one knife come out.
That's right. Yeah.
But the real attaché case had two knives.
Oh my gosh.
Which, again, only the one was used.
Now,
so really neat.
Let's do this. Let's keep the story going, but let's take a look at this actual one that's here before us. All right, so we brought you a little bit closer. Ed, why don't you take us through the case?
Okay, ordinary attaché case, but the trick of it is that, of course, we all know that we can't open it without the talc exploding unless we revolve these. and open normally.
Ah, very nice. Ooh, lots of goodies
so then we
inside.
got the goodies that are inside here.
Beautiful.
All right. So of course this is the talc tin that he shows.
That's fantastic. Now, what did you did you make these?
Yes, I did. The original ones that Steve supplied in the attaché case at the time were just plastic, and they were really not the correct size or shape.
Okay.
Because there is a very powerful earth magnet that's hidden in the back of this case here, it will actually stick to it.
Oh wow.
Now, because the case, because the case that, or the talc rather, tin that he had was plastic, what he had done is he had glued a magnet here and then covered it. Okay. What I did is I researched and found what I believe is the correct shape and size of the talc tin that was used in the film.
Ah, fantastic.
So these are original 1960 tins that I totally refurbish and then put a custom. And as you can hear, it sticks right to it.
It grabs it.
It grabs it. It pulls it right out of your hand.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Of course you have the gold sovereigns on both sides. So here we have the gold sovereigns, 25 on either side, which fill out. And there's actually an improvement to the ones that were used in the film because, again, Burt Luxford told us that these were nothing more than shillings that they had spray painted gold. We, at the time, since we were in England, went to a coin shop and got original 1960 shillings, which Steve then had gold plated. So these are all 14 karat gold plated. Now, there's no way you could fit 25 on either side because there's just, as you can see, there's what, 3, 6, 9, 10 on each side, so we have 20. There's no way you would have had 50 of these things in there. So, again, film magic, movie magic, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely.
But there they are.
Beautiful.
Okay. Other little items that you would have found in the case, now these were not supplied with the SD Studio case.
Sure.
But are enhancements or things that would have been in a case in the film. One of the things, if you remember in the film, when he checks into the hotel, he pulls this out to check for bugs.
Oh, yes.
Okay, he puts this on the bottom. He picks up his telephone and puts this on the bottom, and it actually registers that there is, a bug in the room. Okay, this is again a vintage 1960s, what's called an alcometer, and it's actually a device used for measuring paint on metal.
Okay.
So again, this is just something that is an enhancement. It's not something that was applied with the case, but again, it's something that we do see in the film. Another thing that we see is, of course, the AR-7,
yes.
as Q calls it, the folding sniper's rifle, which, as you can see, does not fold whatsoever. Okay, it's a solid piece. The back portion here is what self-contains all the individual components of an AR-7 rifle, okay, which is here. Okay, this is the rifle portion itself. Again, we have the magazine that slips into it, the barrel, which locks in, screws in place, and then the actual stock fits in and locks.
It's as easy as that.
And you have yourself an AR-7 rifle. Now, one of our other friends, a gentleman by the name of Christoph, he manufactured this silencer portion, which in the film we see Bond just slipping it on like that, which of course in real life, if you shot this thing, this would send it off like a missile. Okay. Because it's not locked in any way. In fact, you'll see it later on in the film. After they shoot Krylenko, he does that. Okay. It just slips right off.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but knowing the caliber of this thing, this would be good for shooting squirrels, maybe not assassinating someone.
Yeah, it's a it's a 22.
Yeah.
It's a 22 caliber rifle. It's a survival rifle. It was developed for the Air Force, so downed pilots would actually have this inside of a cockpit. And the idea that this thing is completely waterproof. When you have all these components in here and this is sealed up, this thing will actually float. It would float upright in the water. So if there was a where they had to ditch, the airplane or something. They still had this so that they could actually do something for it. Okay.
Very cool.
Another piece which has eluded us for years would be the scope.
Oh,
which,
look at that.
As you can see, it's in fabrication now. This is as close as we can get to the real thing. Again, my friend Christoph actually engineered this.
That is beautiful.
It has to still be finished up. It has to be anodized black.
Okay.
Of course, so it'll fit in. In the film, Q's when Q's first pulls this open, he takes this off and he points actually to the barrel, and it says it contains an infrared scope. He's actually pointing to the barrel itself. This does not fit anywhere inside of this rifle. This is something Bond would have had to have in his pocket or something of that nature. A PPK, and this is actually a PPK-S, but again, something that Bond would have had.
Sure.
And that's pretty much it. In fact, to self-promote...
I was going to say, there's something else in there that I recognize. To self-promote
myself, what I did was I took all that information that I'm telling you right now from the time we went and visited, all these guys, all the intricate shots that we took of the attaché case, all the paperwork that actually came in the SD Studio case.
Unbelievable.
There's the original instructions. They came again with the case.
Promotion.
This is when we went to Pinewood again, when we went to see Sid Kane and Burt Luxford. Again, Gary Giblin's
there. Now, people didn't get this with the case. This came after.
This was something that actually developed in a strange kind of way, because what I started to do was I started to gather information for myself, just for reference.
Sure.
And the more information I found, the more I found that there's a lot of information out there that some things I didn't even know. In fact, here, this is interesting. When Q refers to it as a folding sniper's rifle, I believe he was actually referring to this earlier Armalite rifle, which, as you see, does fold.
It does, yeah.
Okay, it actually comes with, there's a hinge in here. But I think they referred to this, but used that instead, because actually this is a lot sexier looking.
Of course it is.
This other piece. There's Mr. Luxford himself, the guy who built this thing, John Steers, who's also a production designer.
Amazing.
Special effects guy.
Now, is this a book that people can get from you?
The book itself, it was very costly to print this, so what I do is I actually offer a CD version of this.
Oh, okay.
So it's everything that you see here, as many pages. I think it's like 72 pages long.
Oh my gosh.
But it actually has all that same information in the book.
And we'll put a link to Ed's webpage and contact information below, but that is fantastic. Now, there is one aspect of this case that I haven't seen that people seem to like the most, and that is the knives.
Yeah, the knives are in there. Okay, it's a hidden lock. When you open this portion, you see that there's a very small pin. Okay, and that pin releases the knife.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I love that.
And this knife is as close to the real thing as possible, because at the time, one of the things that Steve did was he contacted Dave Royale. And Dave had been gifted one of the real knives by Burt Luxford.
You're joking.
So he contacted him, and obviously Dave wasn't going to send it to us, but he Xeroxed it and sent us a 1-to-1 scale drawing of the actual knife.
My gosh.
So Steve was able to fabricate that and had it obviously not silver plated, but chrome plated.
Chrome plated.
To make it look.
Now, was there some controversy, I don't know, in the last year or two over this knife, or somebody had pointed something out?
There was. There was a gentleman on the James Bond forum that wanted to produce one of these knives as a real knife out of steel. Right. This is obviously aluminum. It's not even sharpened. Okay, because again, it's a display case thing. But one of the things that he had mentioned was right here, if you look really close, you'll see that there's a small hole in here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This pin that we were talking about before actually locks into that piece.
Ah, okay.
So when you push this part down, it releases it, and the spring mechanism forces this out.
Right.
Now, he claimed that there's 2 pins. Okay? I don't think so, because again, the drawing that we got from Dave Royale clearly shows that it's a 1-pin situation.
Right.
But it would have been nice to have a real version of this, just simply for display purposes.
What happened to that whole project? Did
it just fell apart?
Fizzled?
Yeah, nothing ever happened from it. It's a shame.
These projects are difficult to do. They just don't happen on their own.
It's a lot of... And again, I got to give Steve credit because he had to not only find a woodworker to actually make the wooden case, he had to find someone to do the leather work. His machine shop fabricated, the twin release mechanisms in here, as well as the knives. Another thing that we haven't seen yet, but is on here, is the ammo.
Ah, yes.
And a half a turn pulls this out. Okay, releasing this little section. We
of course.
22 caliber ammunition.
I was going to say, it's even the right caliber, of course.
So, and this is the part we lost.
Oh, gosh.
Which, thank God, again, Desmond was able to find for us. But again, I give him credit. A lot of different things, went into the fabrication of this unit, using original pieces, and, again, me augmenting it with another little piece that made it a little bit more accurate to the screen use version. Christoph's contributions for different things such as the silencer, the scope mount, things of that nature. And again, augmenting it with little things like this alcometer, which he uses to detect
It's all about
bugs.
the details.
It's all the detail.
So there are so many amazing things. I mean, and nobody's done this since then, correct?
No, not anyone that I know of.
Yeah.
Not to this detail.
So the demand on this, I mean, you said 100, 10 artist proof, 100 out there. The demand for this must be amazing. How much did this go for when it first retailed?
Well, it started out at different prices. In that booklet that I have, you'll notice that these are the original, these are copies of the original brochures that Steve sent.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
This first one here, you'll see it's 1,145, I believe.
1,145,
okay, yeah. Later on, if we flip it around, it went up.
Oh, yeah.
To
195. Which, by the way, you would never find it for that now.
No. In fact, this last piece here shows you that the artist proof.
Oh, yeah.
Was the 1,900 and was it?
1,495.
Yeah. Okay.
My gosh. Yeah. Now, what if you were to find one and sell one today? What are these things worth?
Well, let's face it. It's worth what you're willing to pay for it.
That's a really good point. That's true.
You never will get it for as inexpensive as Steve originally sold this thing. I had the opportunity of getting a second one, which was an artist proof version with Desmond's signature in it, and that one at the time, and this is going back maybe 5-6 years.
Right.
That I sold for $14,000.
14,000.
14,000.
So basically 10 times the original, at least 10 times, maybe more of the original price.
I wish I had bought a lot of these.
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe all 100 of them.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it really went up in price. And I think it's because this is probably the most sought after, holy grail of James Bond props that are out there.
Without a doubt.
Okay. If anything out there surpasses this, it would have to be like an Aston Martin DB5.
Yeah, I agree.
Like
and here's the reality too, because you named 3 of them. The Walther PPK, people can get a replica. It's pretty readily available. I think most collectors have them. The DB5, all right. First of all, if you have $500,000, but even if you get an Aston Martin, you got to garage it. It's huge. It's not really collectible. Sure. This is something that it fits in kind of like this type of an area.
Absolutely.
But good luck finding one.
I doubt very highly. I think since I've actually been going on eBay and looking at different Bond props, I think I've only seen maybe 2 for sale.
My gosh.
2.
And they must have gone for exorbitant amounts.
We're talking probably 15, maybe 20 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and they go for a lot of money.
Of course, because if you own one, you're coveting it. I mean,
they're not going to give it up. I think if anybody who has a Bond collection of props, if they had to sell their props, this would be the very last thing that they're going to sell.
It's funny you say this because I've had this with discussion with every collector who comes over to my house. There's always 1 or 2 pieces in your collection that if the house was on fire, you'd get your family and your pets to safety, and then you would grab something.
That's right.
So this might be one of the things.
As a matter of fact, I'll tell you, that's funny you said that because a good friend of mine, in fact, he's the guy who bought the very last number 100 of these attaché cases from Steve.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, he lives in California.
Okay.
He lives in that area that's currently up in flames.
Ooh.
Okay, and he said when they came to evacuate them, 'cause
right,
they came like 3 o'clock in the morning, they're knocking on the door saying, "You got to get out."
Sure.
You know, the sheriff department.
Yeah.
He grabbed this.
He did grab this.
He did grab this. A couple other things, of course, not just
family.
this. But,
that's
but
amazing.
he grabbed this because he said, you know, I'm never going to replace this.
No,
So,
it's
yeah, this
irreplaceable.
was one of the things he grabbed.
Well, we
Right.
had to end with this because it's like, you know, the fireworks finale of attaché cases. The other ones are very nice. You can still find them every now and then, especially that Samsonite one. I think there's like 100 on eBay today that you can find. This is the holy grail of James Bond. Not just attaché cases, but I think lifestyle items of just things that, you know, he really utilized, and it was a main focus, but it's a gadget. It's got everything. So, listen, you are a curator of these things as well as a creator. So thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that kind of rounds it out for the attaché. We will see you very soon. Take care. Oh, hey, you're still here. I didn't even know. You listen, while you're here, if you want, so I would actually go to this button right here and click on it, because then you actually subscribe to our vlogs. It's amazing. You get to see all the upcoming stuff first. You get notifications. It screams at you while you're at work. It's absolutely amazing. Just click on this button, hit subscribe. Just move your cursor, move